everyone, through here. Welcome to today's presentation. So guys, in today's presentation, we are going to continue with a series of videos talking about Talend Cloud Trial. And more specifically, we're going to look at setting up Git projects and connecting with Talend Studio. So how do we take advantage of the Talend Cloud environment to create projects that are tied into Git, and then also coming back into Studio and leveraging or connecting to those projects so that as soon as we build our jobs in Studio, we can quickly deploy them to publish them to Git and then connect back to our Talend Cloud environment. So this is going to require that we have a Talend Cloud account. If you don't, you can certainly watch the previous video on how to get started with a Talend Cloud trial account. Now, once we have that, we're also going to require a Git repository. So this could be GitHub, it could be Azure repos, which is also based on Git, or it could be Bitbucket or any Git repository that you have. We're gonna need that. All right, and then we'll also require that we should have Studio downloaded. So once you set up your Talend Cloud trial account, you can download Studio from there. So these are the prerequisites that we need, and if you have all of that ready, let's dive in. So the very first thing that I would need or I would do is to make sure that I have my Git repo ready. So if I come into Azure DevOps, again, I'm using Azure DevOps as an example in here. I can come into Azure DevOps and take advantage of the repo, clicking on the left side here of the repo capabilities. All right, so you can come in here, you can click on repos, and this will give us the repo capabilities. So it says my first project not found. All right, because I don't have a project here, so let's switch to the default repo capabilities in here. Now this now give me a repo project where I can begin to add code, and what exactly we need is this link. All right, so this is a link that we need so we can start committing our code into this Git repo. If you're using Bitbucket or you're using GitHub, then you can just get the link of whatever project you create from GitHub. It's all the same for the most part. All right, so let's go ahead, copy that link. All right, that's what we need. So once we have that link, I am going to switch over into my Talend Cloud environment and be able to log into that link. All right, so I'm going to switch over into my Talend Cloud environment and be able to create a project that uses basically that Git repo. So I'm coming back here to Management Console. So just log in, username, password. Management Console is what we need. And then what we want to do is create a project. All right, so we can now work from Studio and connect to TMC unless we have a project to connect to. All right, so we need to create a project, assign users to that project. Only then can we go back to Studio and connect to that project. So let's add a new project in here, give it a project name. So Talend tutorial 001, just for the sake of that. So here it asks for the Git repo. What repo are we trying to go to? So I'm pasting the Git repo that we just created. So the repo we got from the creation there, that's what I'm pasting here. If you were using GitHub, just go ahead and paste your GitHub repo link in there. Nothing fancy, nothing complicated. All right, so let's save that. Now we have a project that we've created, but this project, I need to assign users to this project, right? You can imagine if you're working on a team, right, say sales project or marketing, or depending on how the team is structured, you may want to have different projects for different functions within your organization, and different users need to have access to that project. So in this case, I will select that project, go ahead for collaborators. So these are people that should have access to it. Only then can I give access to this. So my user is called YouTube tutorial. So I'm going to give access now to that project. If I had 100 users, I can decide who has access to this project, either at an individual user level or at a group level. If I had my users in groups, I can just give them access to this project. So this is where security really starts coming into play. All right, now we have a project ready in Talend Cloud, and we can start building integrations with this project. And how do we do that? So we're going to go ahead and connect to Studio. So as I mentioned, a prerequisite is you have Studio downloaded and you've launched Studio. So I have Studio here ready to go, which I've downloaded. And this is where we're going to go in and actually connect our Studio environment once you launch Studio to that Talend Cloud project. So before we do that, I have a different account here, but before we do that, I will click on Management. All right. And once we click on Management, you want to click on the green button to add a new project. So here, where is my repository coming from? I'm gonna select AWS East. That's where my Talend Cloud account was. If you were working on Azure or Asia or Europe, yours might be different. All right, so AWS East is where that account was. So let's give it a name, Talend Tutorials. All right, YouTube. Let's just use it. Talend Tutorials. Let's leave it as that. I think that should be fine. Description. Username is, this is where we put in the email that we need to use, but it's not the email that we got from that we created the account with, right? So this is going to be, and this is important. All right, so this would be, we come back into Talend Management Console. If I'm logging in, I want to come into Profile Preferences. All right, Profile Preferences, and so just bear with me here. Let's go back to Management Console. All right, I want to go into Profile Preferences. All right, so this is where we need to be. Okay, so this is the email I use to create my account, but the login information that I need to connect to Studio, this is what I want to use. All right, we don't want to use this one. This is what I want to use. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this link, this login name. All right, and that's what I'm going to paste in here. So that would be my login information. All right, if let's say you're not doing this in a trial, you're just doing this regularly, your login information here will be different. All right, now we can either actually log in with a username or a pass or a token, and I'm going to show how to do both. So let's say if you wanted to use a username, I can go ahead and just type in my username, check connection successful. So now I can connect with my username, no problem. But some people might want to connect with a token. All right, especially if you're gonna do a lot of automation, tokens might be the way to go. So what I'll do is I'm gonna come back here again under Profile Preferences. So once we click it, I'll come here to Personal Access Token. So that's what I need, the Personal Access Token. So I can go ahead, add a new Personal Access Token, call it Studio Login Video Tutorial. All right, let's just type it all. So now I can generate that token. So it's gonna generate a token for me. You copy this token and you want to save this token, right? You want to save this token somewhere because we are going to need that. So let me go ahead and save that token on my other screen, but just copy it to clipboard, and then we come back to Studio. All right, we can use a token. So if you're deciding to use a token, you're more than welcome to certainly use a token. So password, token, they all would work. So let's go ahead now, click OK, since that was successful. And this would bring us to my Talend tutorial. So I want to go ahead and select that project, Talend Tutorials, which is what I need. All right, so now what you notice is it does show, just bear with me here. So it's asking for my Git login. All right, so it's asking for my Git login because this project is connected to Git. So we have to go back to Azure DevOps. All right, so we have to go back to Azure DevOps, and the way you get your Git credentials is you can simply say generate a Git credentials. I'm going to move this out of the screen just so that it doesn't show up, of course. So just go ahead, click on this generate Git credentials. If you're not using Azure DevOps, you're using say GitHub, whatever credentials that you use for your Git repo, that's what you need. But in this case, click on this and that should give you the password that you need, right? So it's generating that for me. I'm going to move this out to the screen so I can type that in. All right, and I'm also going to put in the password login. All right, so I did that and I clicked on login. All right, so now I've authenticated with my Git because Talend now, you can see this project showing up within my studio because I set up that project, because the project was set up in, let's close this, let's go back to Management Console, because we created the project already in the Talend Management Console. So these are the things that we need to do to be able to set up that environment as we go through. All right, so just give it a second for this to refresh. And we're gonna see the project that we did set up in Talend Management Console. Let me close a few things here so it's lighter. All right. Okay, so this is the project. So when we came and created projects called Talend Tutorial 001, that's basically what we see. And the reason why I see this is because I have access to this project. If we had, say, 100 projects showing up in here and I had access to only 2 projects, when I log in, I'm going to see just my 2 projects here. All right, so if you come in here and you're not seeing anything, you have to ask yourself, do I have access to that project? And if you don't, either the admin should give you access, or if you have access and you are the admin like I am doing this, then you can just give yourself access. All right, because this project now is tied into Git. So when I work on this project, all my code will be committed into Git. So very, very powerful. Let's go ahead. So let's go ahead and connect to this project that we have on Studio right now. So we're going to click finish. And this should log us into Studio. It takes a few minutes and I'll come back on the other side once this is successfully connected into the Studio project. So we now have Studio launched successfully. We're going to go in to just verify that we can connect successfully to the project. Now, this is the very first time we're going to Studio. So of course, there's a welcome to Studio quick tour. If this is the first time, we can always click through just to get a layout of the Talend Studio environment. So the configurations tab, and then we have the palette area, and we can go ahead and finish that. Now, since this is the first time we're coming into Studio, what we'll notice here is, oh, we got a pop-up here. We definitely want to click check that, so all the third-party libraries can be installed and finish. So that's going to run in the background. So once I click finish on that, it should go away and start running in the background. So just click on accept all. All right, and so there we have the third-party libraries being downloaded in the background. But what we have on the screen now is just a sample demo job which we can work with. All right, so this is a sample demo job we can work with that is tied to this particular Git project. So now, if I make any changes to this job, I can definitely leverage all the Git functionalities that we have in here to commit my code to Git, to do my push, my merge, my compare, just your entire Git functionalities you might think of with traditional Git. Now I can do all of that right natively within the Talend environment without having to go out into some other tool or to the command line to do Git. As a developer, I can do all my changes right from within this interface, and that's because Talend does fit very natively into those software development lifecycle tools like Git and Jenkins and Mavens, because at the end of the day, it's generating Java code very native into those environments. All right, so let me go ahead and close this. So I'm gonna go ahead and close this job. And since we have this job on this canvas, we have the project that we created in TMC. This project is linked to this Git account. Now, if I commit, or if I do if I push some changes for this job, I can go into Git and verify that yes, indeed, those changes were pushed into Git. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm gonna push that. So this is going to build that job, and it says committed to Git or commits push to Git successfully. So whatever change I'm doing here should now be in Git. Now, albeit this is a very simple, basic, trivial job, but if you had more complex, more sophisticated job, the same thing happens. So let's switch over back into Azure DevOps. Because that's where I do have my Git. So I'm using the Azure DevOps Git repository. So let's check and verify that. So if I go into that Git repository, now you can see just about now my my commit came in. So whatever changes we made, just right now, you can see April 1st, which is when we're doing this, that commit did come in here. And so the code that we just developed, whatever code should show up in here as well. All right, so I think this is the end of this particular video. Just to recap what we've seen, what we've gone through here today is we've seen how Talend Cloud, or how to take advantage of Talend Cloud with Git projects and then connect with Studio. So how can we go into Talend Cloud, create projects, and then go back into Studio and connect those projects. More specifically, we saw how we can create Git projects in TMC. We saw how to connect the TMC from Studio, and then we've also seen how we can push code, or gone through pushing code, Talend code into that Git repository to verify. So that's what we've gone through today in this particular presentation. So we created this project in TMC. The project is tied to a Git repo. We added a user to this project. So that's my user to this project. We went back into Studio, and we were able to connect to Studio using login credentials. And then once we come into Studio, if we're making any changes here, we can push it to that Git branch. And we went ahead and verified from Git that the code is actually being pushed. And if I had multiple developers, then we can now collaborate with this code, like you can collaborate with any other code that you write and have to integrate into Git. Now, the next video, or the next couple of videos, depending on when you're watching this, would show us how, it would demonstrate how once we have this code in the Git repository, in this case Azure repo, we can now build pipelines. All right, we can now take advantage of pipelines within the Azure DevOps to take that code from Git, do a build, and then deploy that into either a container, or we can deploy that into TMC, or we can deploy that into some Artifactory like JFrog or some other Artifactory. So that will really be the full CI/CD pipeline. So what we've done so far is kind of the CI. All right, so we're integrating that code. So now let's take this one step further in the next couple of videos to talk about the CD part. So how can we actually take this code and do that deployment? All right. Through here, I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to go into the comment section below and leave that. I'll be more than happy to respond to that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.